Shalom, mom and friends! I am on behalf of Umbune Filepoi as the moderator of Group 5. In this video, we will present our group assignment about prayer. Happy listening!
Question number 1. What is a prayer? Answer 1. Prayer is an act of communication between man and God. Prayer is a means for men to speak and communicate with their God. Prayer is also a personal or collective act of expressing religion, desire, and feelings. The raw phrase from an the quiz, the road prayer meant to only express place and there is but LC as an expression of gratitude for God. Praticpation. Prayer is two-way that is between man and the God. Human rival smoothing and God LC with smoothing for men of the phrase from of religion. Literal prayer is considered by men to be the part in expressing the essential elements of a religion. NLC prayer is the described in its greater as in intimate friendship, a confession often aligned with the beloved by said the rage of Ephili a 16. Country Spain mystical, this prayer can be defined as a form of human religion of the omnipotence of God. See that with faith we praises God. See frailty in very word speaking from the flame of her.
Question number 2. From the article, list the nature and significance of prayer. Don't forget to have 4 or 5 sentences as a brief explanation of your point. Answer: nature of prayer. Universal, pure, sacred, and holy. Prayer is important. Prayer is very important because it is a means for humans to speak and communicate expression of gratitude, expression of regret and request. By praying, the relationship between God becomes more intimate and closer. For all religions, prayer is a very important matter, where prayer is the only way humans can communicate with God. Prayers can be performed by anyone for personal or collective interest, spontaneously or routinely. Prayer is a medium of communication between man and God. Prayer not only contains requests and desires to get something that is desired, but prayer is also a form of communication with God, as an effort to ask forgiveness from God and cleanse oneself from reproach and sin. By praying, it means that we are talking with the most holy and transcendent, so that humans must really humble themselves as beings who are limited and have a sense of dependence.
The question: do you describe the origin and development of prayer from sociological and psychological understanding? The question: the origin and development of prayer from sociology and psychology. During the 19th century, prayer was seen as a step in the development of religion from a magical state to a higher state. The origin of prayer can be found fundamentally and externally in the confession and prayer of the Creator God, the God of heaven. Some scholars such as Costa Jumeres, a French physiologist in the early 20th century, have tried to trace prayer back to biological necessity, and the attempt on the whole has been unsuccessful. In order to analyze normal prayer physiologically, it is very important to choose a normal subject. Affective such as fear, joy, and sadness constantly play a role in prayer. William James and physiologists such as Joseph Segon describe prayer as a subcases and emotional effusion, the explosion of thought wanting to enter into communication with the unseen. The experience of praying very often does, in fact, include a cry from the heart, an unfolding lament, and a spiritual outburst. Psychological explanations have the advantage of investigation the subsection describing the various forces into or the soul by the experience of the subsection in the act of prayer is not the exercise of prayer is it many misses the role of intelligence and will. Sociologists often explain prayer in the relation to the religious spirit, which plays an important role in spiritual behavior. Although prayers prepossess personal belief to believers are the later extent provided by native society.
I can answer number 4 about types of prayer. First, request is an action or rule of request in religions which is played in the form of words as an expression which is explained and which is believed to be realized if it is done seriously. Next, recognition. The term confession is an affirmation of the faith of every human being and is a remorse for his sinful state. According to primitive ancient people, sin can cause the anger of the gods. Confessions of sins cannot only be explained by guilt or just sadness, but confession of sin is a deep fall. Is a deep feeling that regrets every bad deed of every human being that he has done. Third, praise and thanksgiving. Praise in the prayer of primitive people can be traced to greetings, as and the Hottentots or South African prayer to the new moon or welcome. Praise among most accented people was expressed in hymns, which were primarily prayers of praise or but ritual and personal for the gift of the created word. Praise is usually called a hymn. The hymn itself is a congregational song sung collectively. Next, mystical union of ecstatics. Online consultation, lifting or exceeding human boundaries, as well as divine encounters and house. It is a blend of being with existence in which the mystic experience union, which counts as the union of merit. God God is in me and I am in him. The mystical experience of God in an inexpressible encounter that is beyond the experience of ordinary humans may be a clear and conscious prayer of contemplative development or it may take a more passive form of seizing by the Lord, the one praying. The mistake by its I am an action, is cut off from the word and from it itself. He found in the light and greatness of divinity, poverty and absence of his own, and was torn between contemplating the greatness of God and his own weakness. Next, worship is a sign of deep worship, basically as the most noble form of prayer, a kind of protection of all beings before God. Among adherents of indigenous religions, even if supination is predominant, they are seized with fear and trembling in the presence of the noumen or spiritual power of all which is or endowed with sacred or holy powers, or taboo or probability due to association with the sacred. To express his worship, people often fell to the ground and made prostrations. The feeling of submission is also experienced by bodily movements, raising a hand, observing, or smelling a holy object deeply, and the body kneeling with the right hand over the mouth, prostration, or doing the forehead and the ground. The gesture is often accompanied by cries of fear, amazement, or joy. For example, have or Judaism, who Islam, or Java, or Hinduism.
Mom, brother, and sister, I will introduce myself. My name is Natalia Kristi Sinai Oematan. I'm from group 5. I wish answer question number 5, which is question. Please describe the form of prayer in Christian. As well, Christian has various forms of prayer, such as the 150 chapter of the Psalms, which contain prayer, the assumption of collective resistance. That is, they can be as individuals or in group. Also included in the hymn is a form of prayer in which there are songs of praise to God. In addition, there is a prayer of blessing, which is prayer to ask for God's blessing and grace. Christian has also praised doxology, which is a short high of various Christian services. Christian prayer, like an outer religion, introduce liturgical prayer and scriptural prayer. The liturgy prayer framework explains more specifically specifically about the sacrament of baptism, the supper, the liturgical collection of Sunday as well as other days.
Number 6. Thing learned from article about prayer. Number 1. Prayer is a place where all human begin, should there and raise very expression of their heart to God, be it individual and in group. Number 2. Prayer is the key to live that can help people worship and know God mere causal. Number 3. Prayer is a place where people hear God faithfully and hear very secret of God. Personal religion. 1. Make prayer in my life the main subject that can make me call to God. 2. Make prayer a speak thing in my life and a communication between me and God. 3. Prayer can the dead thing are impossible for rail.
I will answer question number 6, which is question. What do you learn from this article about prayer? What your personal relation? Answer. Religion there have been debates of various terrains relating to the origin of prayer. This is not a district for religious people. As a religious expression, prayer is psychical, mystical, personal, and expresses the expressions of this life in a spiritual dialogue with God. Prayer is the key to hope in the practice of every religion. Every dispression religion must talk prayer about still maintenance the may some many among religions everybody everyone all also as depressions participation in praying about X on has the same thing, namely hope in God. The key to dialogue in prayer is hope is in personal reflection. For me, prayer in conscious self-disclosure to God with later to a different situation, and it is in that prayer that a dialogue of hope to God takes place. Thank you.
My opinion about number 6, based of this article, I learning about the meaning of prayer. Namely, prayer is a communication between human and God. Through prayer, I can express what I feel and want. From prayer, I can tell everything that happened in my life. There is, in my opinion, that say that prayer is the breath of life. Therefore, prayer it is hallmark of the belief.
What do you learn from this article about prayer? My mean prayer is an effect of communication between humans and the sacred or holy God, the God, transcendent realms, or supernatural forces. Found in all religions of all time, prayer can be a corporate or personal act using a variety of forms and techniques. Prayer is an important and universal aspect of religion of both primitive and modern mystical societies which express diverse religious feeling and attitudes that govern a relationship between man and the sacred or holy. Of the various forms religious literary, prayer is considered by many to the purest in the expressing the essential elements of a religion. During the 19th century, when various theories of evolution were espoused, prayer was seen as stake in the development of religion from a magical state to a higher state. William James and psychologists such as Joseph Sagan describe prayer as the circumstances and emotional effusion, the explosion of thought that want to enter into communication with the unseen. These include and types of prayer, namely supplication, prayer of confession, intercession prayer, prayer and thanksgiving, worship, and ecstasy mystical union, what included from the prayer in the world religions, namely the religion of the literally people, ancient Paradaban, the religion of the Timor, the Western religion. The first Christian mentioned the habit of praying 3 times a day, saying or the Father. The specific the times of prayer the morning and evening. Christ's custom of praying at meals was also preserved. Islamic prayer is an act of worship of God in the therefore unsuitable for adding to requests. Before worship God, a believer must purify himself by ablution in the pour water or if not in sand.
Number 6. From the articles that I have read, I can clearing that prayer is a means of connecting humans and his creator. Through prayer, a person can converse with his Lord, expressing his heart in the form of acknowledgement, request, praise, and gratitude. Prayer also intercedes for humans and his creator. From the lesson above, I would like to reflect more deeply on Christian prayer. As a modern Christian mystic from India said, prayer is just as important as breathing. I want to explore more about this statement. I pondered it for a moment. What would happen if I didn't breathe? I believe that I meant I was dead, so I also feel that if I live without praying, my spirituality would die. This means that the relationship between me and God will be further away or even cut off. As already in the article, prayer will prove that religion is alive. Prayer helps me to prove that whatever is going on in my life, I convey it all through prayer and continue to rely on God.
Question number 6. What do you learn from this article about prayer? What's your personal reflection? There are several things I learned from the article on prayer. Number 1. The definition of prayer, namely prayer as a means and medium for humans to talk to their Lord to express gratitude, petition, and remorse both individually and collectively from two directions, namely the human side and from God's side spontaneously or regularly. Number 2. The nature of prayer, which is universal or in others' word, can be done by anyone people without exceptions. Number 3, prayer from a psychological and also sociological perspective. Physiological prayer is a subconscious and emotional effusion, while sociological in relation to a religious environment that plays an important role in spiritual behavior and is provided by society. Number 4, types of prayer, namely supplication, confession, intercession, praise and thanksgiving, worship, and mystical union or ecstasy. Number 5, forms of prayer in other religion, namely religion of the illiterate people, ancient civilizations, religion in the East, and religion in the West. Personal reflection on prayer. For me, prayer is not just gratitude, supplication, confession, and regret, but prayer for me is also a medium for me to tell everything that I have experienced, whether it's good or bad. Prayer is a means for me to pour out my heart because with it my heart and soul feel satisfied and relieved. Anxiety and worry often make me feel scared, but they will disappear when I pray to God. Yes, something extraordinary to me. Many things out there force me to cause in doubt, but to finish that prayer is one of the most powerful ways for me. There are two principles that I always hold when I pray. First, humble myself and feel dependence on God, and secondly, believe that God will grant it. That's our presentation about prayer. May the Lord Jesus bless us all. Shalom.